Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to EnTech Solutions and Faith Technologies Path to Smarter Energy for Schools webinar. I'm Steve Nieland. I'm Vice President of Innovation for EnTech Solutions, the energy delivery division, of Faith Technologies. And with me today is Mike Herbst. He's a project manager within our FTI's Field Energy Group.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today's agenda will include the list you see on this slide. You see the EnTech Solutions logo. You see at the bottom corner of every slide. We'll talk about who EnTech Solutions is and how they fit in with the FTI family. You'll see our path to smarter energy. We'll explain and define that. We'll also identify steps along that energy roadmap, as well as our experiences with this technology and the current state of the market. We'll wrap up with some final thoughts and a Q&A session at the end.
So basically, FTI, we are 3 divisions, but we're united under one vision. So we look at this as giving you the ability to have a single shop that can deliver everything from conceptualizing through delivery and ongoing operations and maintenance. We have our Faith Technologies division, which is involved traditionally, as it always has been, around pre-construction, so engineering, actual site construction, digital power solutions, so not just the power and energy creation, but the data management of that. And then our ISHNs, who are our skilled technicians to be able to provide ongoing operation, maintenance, and optimization of those systems. We have our Accelerate division. They're involved around construction manufacturing. So again, trying to save time and deliver more effectively in the field, as well as developing skid and modular solutions, again, to try and minimize that field time, minimize downtime within construction projects. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have EnTech Solutions, the area I work within. We are the energy division of Faith. We get involved around asset management. So in the right situations, we may own an energy installation, own and operate for our clients. We get involved with distributed energy, which can be everything from basic grid-tied solar to full microgrid technology that can operate on or off grid. We are involved with EV and e-mobility charging solutions, again, delivering the right solution for your energy needs and for your utility structure, as well as sustainable fuels and biofuels. So our goal is to be your trusted energy experts. We provide end-to-end, as I mentioned earlier, simplifying the ability to deliver those solutions. We have 50 years of experience working with Fortune 500 and Ford's largest private companies. We are nationwide. We're headquartered here in Wisconsin, but we have offices across the United States that we cover basically the nation from coast to coast with the ability to execute in pretty much any of the states within the United States. What is our process? So again, we talked about being a full solution provider. What does that mean? So we start with an assessment phase. And again, where is your site at? What are your needs? Where is the most bang for the buck you can get for being more efficient in your energy usage, and then looking at energy delivery and how we can do that. We're able to engineer those solutions, whether it's on the energy saving side or it's on the energy generation side. We give the ability to source the necessary materials, components, etc., needed to execute that. Along with that manufacturing space, we talked at Accelerate to do prefabrication or pre-manufacturing. We have our Faith Technologies group, which can handle that installation and execution. And then that ongoing operation and optimization, we have our skilled technicians and within our ISHN group to be able to deliver moving forward. So what is a path to smarter energy? It's all about being more sustainable. So that path, it's a step-by-step guide for our customers on what that energy journey looks like. How they can get from energy conservation, again, making the most efficient use of your energy first, And then looking at how you can deliver more energy of your own energy on site rather than purchasing from your utility. So in that process, we help you achieve both your sustainability and your environmental goals. Why looking at schools? Well, schools are America's second largest public infrastructure investment. There are a lot of schools, a lot of infrastructure around with that. So by looking at sustainability, looking at energy efficiency, looking at environmental issues within those spaces can have a very, very quick return and impact on those areas. They're also among the biggest energy consumers in the public sector. K through 12 schools consume 8% of all the energy used in commercial buildings, and they emit as much carbon dioxide as 18 coal-fired power plants. Big environmental impact. And again, as most of our schools are located in cities or more urban areas, they're major sources of that carbon pollution in those areas. And so if we want to improve environmental quality, air quality within those spaces, we want to help schools transform themselves also to get close to net zero emissions to help reduce that carbon impact. An interesting statistic from the Department of Energy, taxpayers spend roughly $6 billion each year on energy costs for K through 12 schools. The vast majority of that goes into three areas. We'll ignore office supplies, but if we look at from an energy standpoint, where we see energy use, between lighting and cooling, over 50% of that energy cost is involved in those spaces where we can have some significant impact.
This is our path to the smarter energy. Breaking down this path into 3 steps. Now, these steps can all be taken rather quickly, or they can be completed over the course of several years. We'll dissect further on each of these steps. Step 1. Why is this important? Well, basically, it's setting the proper foundation so you can optimize future steps along the path. Getting your facility as energy efficient as possible includes targeting things such as your HVAC, building envelope, building management systems, LED lighting. Many of these things we've helped you with in the past.
So once we're able to look at making that envelope as efficient as possible, and again, the reason being, we want to not throw good money after bad. We don't want to have to produce more energy when it's easier to take care of some of those other potential energy usage and make them more efficient. But then once we've done that, we can help you look at energy generation and that standalone generation within your site. So different types of generation we can look at are solar. Solar's advantages, it has no moving parts, it's low maintenance. It's very attractive from a pricing standpoint. Solar prices continue to go down over time. It has a long life expectancy. And in the case of roof-mounted solutions, can actually, in some cases, help prolong the life of the roof surface. It has a good ROI because of these. And while there are concerns about recycling, it is coming. And in fact, there are several companies now that can do almost 100% recovery of the materials within solar panels. The other application of solar panels from a recycling standpoint is repurposing them. So quite often, older panels are repurposed into new installations, especially as we start looking at some other countries around the world that are a bit more impoverished. A lot of times panels are shipped there for pennies on the dollar of what the cost of new panels is to supply power in those areas. Wind can be attractive. Basically, we got production anytime the wind is blowing, which means I can have generation day or night. Also, they can complement solar well because in a lot of cases, when the sun isn't shining, the wind is blowing, or vice versa. Issue with wind, you got high maintenance. You have to work at some dangerous heights. When you look at the larger wind turbines that you see, in some of the wind farms across the countryside in Wisconsin, those are like 400, 450 feet high. So there is the height issue. There are noise. There are some minimal animal concerns, and it can be difficult to prepare or site those installations. And the last item we look at typically in a typical installation from standalone generation would be generators. We're typically looking at those as used for emergency power outages, again, life safety type of applications, or to ensure we can provide a level of comfort. So if I have a facility that I need to make sure I'm able to keep running and maintaining that facility, even in the case of a utility outage. We also will utilize generators as part of a microgrid, as again being a resilient energy source beyond solar or wind, battery storage. But we really don't consider that renewable energy, right? Because we're again having some type of a carbon footprint there, and they can be very expensive to run, especially as you look at current commodity fuel prices. So what are the benefits of solar with a school? Because that's probably where we get the best bang for the buck and best return. Well, schools typically have ideal rooftops and available space. Rooftop solar likes large flat roofs, and most school facilities have that type of space available. And it also helps from an installation cost. It's much more cost effective often to do those rooftop installations than ground mount installations. It can cut your annual overall operation costs. Again, we talked about the fact I'm not only generating power to offset a spend you might be having from your utility, but can also help extend the roof life of that roof surface. It helps you have a more sustainable brand image from a public standpoint. Was interested recently at the WESBO conference down in the Dells here in Wisconsin. And a lot of people were talking about the fact that they want to improve their sustainability image within their school districts. And it helps drive those technologies into the future. So a couple ways we can utilize those installations along with classroom tools to teach about renewable energy, to teach about non-carbon-based sources of energy. We can also use those for job training opportunities in some cases. In some cases, and in many cases, those students can help lead those sustainability efforts within the school. So comparison of the levelized cost of energy. So this is looking at where we're at over the current profile of energy generation. And as we see on here, rooftop solar is very attractive, much more cost effective, in fact, than what it takes to build new utility generation. So if we look at the bottom half of this chart, we see what it costs to be able to put in a gas peaking plant, nuclear plant, coal plants, gas compressed cycle plants. Solar is becoming very cost effective. It's comparable, or in some cases better in cost than those traditional generation sources. It's also typically easier to site too, so it can be very difficult and can take a number of years to be able to site one of those conventional utility type generation sources.
Many times we only focus on the financial impact of a project such as solar. Everyone wants to know what is the ROI. But solar provides those benefits and more. As Steve mentioned, there's a sustainability image impact. There's a visual impact. You can actually see the solar on your roof. It can also create additional community pride. Many folks within a school district don't have the ability to put solar on the roof of their house, but they can still be involved with the solar project by having it on their community school. We can also provide visible data tracking. And this is an example of what is shown through our SolarEdge inverter software system that you can actually put on your website and have visible to everyone within the community or everyone who visits your website. They can see in real time what the consumption of your facility is versus the solar production that you have at any given moment. It also, as you see kind of the tabs on top, you can track it by day, week, month, or even for the year. So very interactive type of a project when the community can click on the website and see their tax dollars in action and see that it is having an impact on the district.
So some of the common questions around solar, like to take a step through and answer those for you. So first, around warranty. So the great thing about solar, we've reached a point now from a material and workmanship warranty that we're seeing 20 to 25-year warranties just on the workmanship portion of solar panels alone. On top of that, most of the vendors we deal with will offer a 25 to 30-year performance warranty also. So they'll guarantee that performance level after 25 or 30 years of the panels being installed and operational. Another question we quite often get is, well, what is the weight of those systems? So if we look at a typical ballasted system, like we see in the upper right, typical weight of those systems averages about 3.5 to worst case about 7 pounds per square foot. Quite often, we're able to replace, if you have a ballasted roof, that stone ballast on the roof with that solar array, and let the solar array with its ballast provide the ballast for the roofing solution. Now, in cases where maybe we have roofs that cannot take that type of weight, or we have a roof surface that's open and non-ballasted, we also have solutions that can be adhered. They have EDPM backing with a flexible panel. They can be adhered to that roof surface, and they add only about 0.5 pound per square foot of additional load to the surface, and they provide additional fire protection in addition to the generation capabilities. So question then becomes around bifacial panels. So the difference between monofacial and bifacial. Used to be the standard solar panel was a monofacial panel. That meant that basically any light that hit it was coming from the top surface, would hit the panel, and any energy produced was absorbed from that light. We now are starting to standardize around bifacial panels. So they're able to actually pick up light reflected off the roof surface onto the back of the panel and increase the panel efficiencies by any place from 10 to 14%, depending on the type of roof surface. Another question we often get is about snow on the panels. I have them on a roof. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm definitely going to have snow. Panels can do quite well at self-clearing on that snow load. So the panels self-generate heat when they're in operation a bit. So if I can get 1/4 of a panel start to clear, which typically in Wisconsin maybe is a day or two after a snowstorm, the rest of the panel will clear quite quickly after that. As we mentioned earlier, we can also extend the roof life too with some installations. So they actually help protect more of the roof surface and help get more life out of that roof as part of that installation. And finally, on installation timelines, we see a breakdown here on the slide. Typically, design and engineering takes about 2 to 4 weeks. The procurement process is typically about 1 to 3 months, depending on the size of the installation and the type of equipment. And installation's about 1 to 3 months also, again, depending on the size of type and equipment. So you can look at a turnkey system typically being executed within a 6 to 7 month period, worst case. So project funding, where can you get funding from? Well, of course, there's always cash purchase, capital budget. We can help you with that and help you put together that budget for an installation. There's, of course, borrowing or bonding. Fundraising, which there is a link that will be available in the chat to that Monona Grove case study. That's one of the ways they actually pursued their execution of their solar array was through some fundraising within the community. There's also the possibility of doing third-party leasing. And again, there are grants and incentives available. So there's grants available from the state, from the DOE, from Focus on Energy. We also work quite often with an organization called Solar for Good, which in the case of nonprofits and schools also offers some help from a financial or from a material standpoint for those installations as well. So once we look at energy generation, the other step is step 3, the last step is looking for energy independence. So again, what can I do to to store some of that energy, because maybe I'm producing a lot of energy for my solar array and I'm not able to consume it all at once. Want to be able to consume it maybe during those times when it's dark or it's cloudy. So the other option we have to look at, and the next step forward in that journey, is around energy storage. So typically we look at battery storage systems. They enable us to capture that excess solar energy, excess wind energy, and release it when we need it later. Battery technology can play a key role in ensuring that businesses can be powered by clean energy even when the sun's not out, whether it's cloudy condition days, whether it's nights. So what does it do that solar doesn't? Well, we talked about during day or night, right? Cloudy days, I can have that energy storage. Also, it gives me the ability to be more resilient too. So the battery systems that we work with within EnTech also offer the capability to be able to act as a source in the case of a utility outage and continue to provide power to the facility as long as we're still charging the battery or we're still producing solar or wind energy. So where do you go with this? Well, we can help you identify locations typically on the site that's safe and unobtrusive. And it's typically a containerized solution like we see in the illustrations on the right. So we can locate those installations for you and help you identify the best locations for them.
Past projects and experience we have with solar. So you see the picture here, that's actually a really nice drone shot of a recently completed project that we did. So you can see what a completed solar project looks like on that type of flat roof. Still have our safety railings up on that one as well. So that project is probably just about at completion when that drone shot was taken. But overall experiences, highlighted there in that list, about 320 megawatts of projects completed so far, basically from coast to coast in California to New Jersey. Ranges from industrial customers to the K-12 market. Really a vast expanse of experiences, and not only rooftop, but in ground mount as well.
So some final thoughts or things to consider on your path to smarter energy. Starting on your path now helps you increase your energy savings. It lets you reach your sustainability goals sooner. And again, that path quite often is more often about saving energy rather than generation first. Again, we want to help you do the right solution for your particular site. And that's part of what we're about, is helping you assess and analyze and developing that right solution. It's a journey that requires courage, understanding, trust, knowledge to change the current path you're on. And we're here to help and support you to fill that in. And each step, as we look at this, can help fund the next step. So those savings that we look at from energy improvements, whether it's looking at improving the way your HVAC system is responding through tuning or addition of a building management system, if it's replacing old inefficient lighting with new, more efficient lighting, those cost savings can then help to supply the next project, the next step moving forward. So our recommendation, you start with the future in mind. What are your goals? And then let's help you plan out the steps to get you there. Best way to start is with an initial energy discovery consultation. We can help you do an assessment, looking at your site, make suggestions, give you ideas for those improvements. So again, I want to thank you for our time. We're going to open it up for questions for Mike and I. And we'll start with, we got a question here in the window. What happens when solar production is high in the summer and school isn't in session? That's a great question, right? Because it can happen not just during the summer, but it can happen during the school year too. I may have times when I've got some nice, good sunny days, I'm overproducing. We look at, again, that return as far from an investment standpoint is part of your installation. And we will work with that in your utility to look at what the most effective sizing for that array is. to be able to utilize net metering arrangements with your utility. So basically, your utility pays you for that excess power that you generate at times when you don't need it. And it can help offset further that utility spend with your electric utility. How do grants and incentives apply? Really, that's a question that depends on the particular grant or incentive. Some of the grants are direct, where basically once you prove that you've done the installation, you get a check. Focus on Energy quite often operates that way, where I execute a project, focus on Energy, then at the end of the project, you show them substantiation that it's been completed, it's an operation, they send you something back. Some other incentives are involved more around performance, improving the system performance as you move forward. And some of them are straightforward grants on the front end. So it really depends on what that grant and incentive is. But we have professionals that are able to help you navigate that and utilize and get the most grant or incentive dollars as possible. As I mentioned, that Monona Grove case study, we have it available in the chat, so you can take a look at that. And a question on how do you get started? Well, we encourage you to reach out and reach out to Mike or myself, but Mike is probably your better contact. He's out there every day working with our field installations, and we can help get you started on that journey and get that initial consultation started. Also like to let all of you know that this webinar has been recorded and will be available for later distribution. So if you have other people you want to share this with, or if you want to be able to see this internally, we will make that available to you. With that, Mike, any last words from you?
Just again, thanking everyone for taking the time to participate today. And as Steve mentioned, any questions, any follow-up, any additional information, feel free to contact us.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you everyone who's attended. Look forward to talking with you further and helping with you with your energy journey. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good day.